Joining me now is CNN political commentator and former Obama administration official Van Jones. Van, great to have your voice, particularly right now. There's a lot of talk about how the message of peaceful protesters is being overwhelmed by the noise of clashes, looting, and so on. What do you see when you look at the country tonight? Is that noise in some ways necessary, as some people say?
Here's what I see. There's 40 million African Americans in the United States. All of us are heartbroken. All of us are disgusted. Many of us depressed in ways we've never been. This is the first time that you cannot tell your children how they are supposed to survive that kind of brutality. You always have this imagination, and somehow you'd say, well, speak properly, don't run, don't have drugs, don't have weapons, pull your pants up. This was a complete disaster. And so every African American in the country, 40 million, heartbroken, and there's some tiny minuscule number of people who are out there breaking windows and doing stuff. Some of them may well be provocateurs. So I think it's important for us to have perspective here. The big lawlessness, the big question of lawlessness is when you have law enforcement not obeying the law. That is the big threat to a democratic republic. And then the secondary threat is when you have citizens not obeying the law. But the primary threat and the reason you got people out in the streets tonight is because you have law enforcement now from coast to coast all too often not obeying the law and paying no price, and we should not forget that. And the 40 million African Americans who are showing restraint should get more attention than the few who are not.
Does it, it shouldn't be a time of politics, but the president, he's been singling out Democratic mayors and governors, what he calls left-wing radicals, and making what appeared to be many calls to his supporters. He was tweeting out at one point, I understand tonight is MAGA night at the White House, and so on. I mean, this is not a president prone to calming, empathetic, unifying words. What would you like to hear from him?
Well, listen, there are two pathways here. The negative pathway is we could have major unrest, not little riots, little disturbances of the peace downtown, but major civil unrest in 20 cities in the U.S. We're about one videotape away from that. One more videotape and you'll have 20 cities on fire. Or we go the other way, and you could have bipartisan police reform, for the first time ever. You could have these cops disciplined, demoted, fired, that's already happened, and then appropriately charged and jailed. And there could be a real commitment to break the economic chokehold on Black America if corporations and other folks who say they care step up and begin to make investments. There's no middle ground. You're either going to have a summer of riots and rebellion and blood and fire, or you're going to have a summer of hope and investment and coming together. The president has to make a decision. Which is he rooting for? And right now, it's not clear to me.
Well, yeah, also, I mean, yeah, he said other things that stuck out, of course. He also said, and it was a remarkable quote, really, he said, MAGA, his Make America Great, he said, MAGA loves the black people, which is just such an awkward phrase. But above everything else, saying MAGA loves the black people, he's saying that MAGA is white.
I tell you, I'd rather him say that than say MAGA hates the black people. I don't try to beat him up for everything he does. And I will say, too, the Department of Justice has leaned in on this, and they're doing a good job. The problem with President Trump is that sometimes he does the right thing, and then he erases it by tweeting the wrong thing. But listen, I'd rather him say MAGA loves the black people than MAGA hates the black people, so I'll take what I get tonight.
I was talking with people on the program last night, and you're a good one to raise this with. We're discussing the fact that, almost like school shootings, I mean, we have these same conversations over and over. It's got to change, and yet here we are. You partnered with Jay-Z, Meek Mill, and others to form the Reform Alliance for Criminal Justice Reform. I'm just wondering, have you accomplished anything tangible that gives you hope?
Yeah, we have. First of all, we've introduced legislation in about half a dozen states to reform the probation and parole systems there. Everybody talks about mass incarceration. 2 million people locked up in the U.S., huge number, shame, the most incarcerated country in the world. But there's 4 million people who are caught up on probation and parole, twice as many people. So we've got legislation to address that. Also, the Reform Alliance has been able to work on a bipartisan basis in the middle of this pandemic to get about 40,000 people out of harm's way, out of jails, out of prison, safely home, and working with the White House and others. So, we're only 18 months old. It's a new effort, but I'm very proud of the fact that we also are getting masks into every jail and prison, thanks to Jack Dorsey's contribution. So yes, the Reform Alliance, I think, shows what can happen when left and right get together to solve problems. We're going to have to take that same approach, though, to police reform now, and that's going to be the next leg of the journey.
Yeah, well, good luck and congratulations on what's been achieved so far. It's a journey. Van, good to see you, Van Jones. Thank you.
Thank you.